The Supreme Court sided 9-0 with former college athletes in a compensation dispute with the NCAA.
While the ruling does not decide whether students can be paid, it hints at a bigger debate about amateurism in college sports. Skylar Henry reports from Washington.
The Supreme Court handed a unanimous victory to student athletes Monday, ruling the National Collegiate Athletics Association cannot limit education-related benefits. The bench upheld a lower court ruling that found the restrictions violate antitrust laws. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote, "Put simply, this suit involves admitted horizontal price fixing in a market where the defendants exercise monopoly control."
It is a watershed ruling.
Nellie Drew is a sports law professor at the University at Buffalo.
What does this mean for student athletes moving forward, do you think?
A very different landscape.
The ruling focuses on how schools reimburse players for things such as computers, science equipment, and musical instruments. The NCAA had defended its rules as preserving the amateur nature of college athletics. It noted in a statement, while today's decision preserves the lower court ruling, it also reaffirms the NCAA's authority to adopt reasonable rules and repeatedly notes that the NCAA remains free to articulate what are and are not truly educational benefits. The ruling does not address pay-to-play, but Justice Brett Kavanaugh's concurrence suggests there's room for a challenge. It is highly questionable whether the NCAA and its member colleges can justify not paying student athletes a fair share of the revenues on the circular theory that the defining characteristic of college sports is that the colleges do not pay student athletes. The NCAA says it's committed to supporting name, image, and likeness benefits for student athletes, and it's working with Congress to determine a path forward. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
And for more on this, joining us live is ESPN Madison's Jim Rutledge. Jim, thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Jim. Good to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me.
How do you think this ruling is going to affect the Badgers and athletes here?
Positively, especially the athletes, nothing's going to be happening immediately. And I think Wisconsin did a good job making sure that these athletes do get kind of the best benefits available to them. But as the report said, that the tide's turning here. People are getting tired of watching these athletes, play and get paid nothing. I think there's more public support for that. And each passing day, something is happening where it just feels wrong, where a school could be paying a coach $25 million not to coach, but they can't find any way to pay a great player like Frank Kaminsky as they sell his jersey inside bookstores. So I think people are starting to see that's unfair, and this is another step towards trying to rectify that.
But what does it mean down the road in terms of amateur sports? Is this the beginning of the end of amateur sports?
That's a great question. I think that obviously, I don't want to say Barry Alvarez stepped aside because he didn't want to work with this, but this is a big step for Chris McIntosh. This is a whole new era that Chris McIntosh, the new athletic director of Wisconsin, is going to be stepping into that I don't think that Barry wanted to take on late in his career. There's going to be a lot of questions, and it's about trying to make sure that, look, we know football and men's basketball and some of these sports will be just fine, but what about cross country? What about swimming or women's soccer or softball? Plenty of sports we all enjoy. How do we make sure they still can play along with making sure that the athletes on the football and basketball and some of those revenue generating sports get the proper respect that they deserve?
We'll find out in the future. Major ruling, that's for sure, though. Jim, thanks for being with us today.
So much more to talk about. We'll have you back soon to continue this conversation, Jim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.